Hello, guys. This is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, and welcome. So glad that you are here, and welcome to another live feed. So super excited for us to dive into something that's really commonly misunderstood, which is the accountability trap. And this is a place that we go very often to try to do what we know we need to do, right? This is a very, popular thing to do. It's a very easy thing to do. Just get some people together. I want an accountability partner. It's something that pops up all the time, but it's something that we also need to understand how that works specifically with food. And we're going to talk about 3 reasons today about why having accountability actually makes the problem worse, and then what to do instead to really be able to create momentum on your freedom. So hello, I'm Lydia, the lifestyle coach. And what we do here is we end eating disorders using nothing but your brain. And when we are talking eating disorder, yeah, there's like binge eating, there's bulimia, absolutely. But we're also talking about overeating. We're talking about body hate. We're talking about just thinking about food all the time and that food obsession. We're talking about not going places because there's food there. We're talking about counting up your calories first thing in the morning. We're talking about the sorts of things that really keep you back from being present in your life and being who you are, because your decisions are being made by food. And that's just not the way that it's meant to be. Like, that's not a full life. And so what we're doing here is we're getting free. And thank you guys so much for being part of this amazing community. Feel free to like and heart and say hello. So fun to see you guys on. Would love to hear your experience with any sort of accountability groups and what was your experience in that. And we're going to dive into some nitty gritty of exactly how accountability impacts our ability to get free and to, really be at a place where we have neutrality around food. It's just not a big deal. We're normal eaters. So the way that it starts out with desiring accountability is because there's so much information out there. I mean, you guys can go and watch 100 YouTube videos on healthy eating and having a healthy relationship with food. And you can go and read 100 books and, all the free ebooks. Like, there's so much information. And because we're a very information-rich world, we all become experts. And I'm talking like real experts. Like, we know so much about food, right? And there's a lot of contradicting information, absolutely. But we get to a place where we know a lot. We know exactly the carbs and the calories in potatoes versus cauliflower versus turnips, and we know which is best. And so we're making everything out of cauliflower. Like, we have an idea of exactly what happens when we eat something and how the insulin impacts our bodies. And we know exactly how many calories this burns and, what we need to do or how many steps we need to get. So in our minds, we have an idea of exactly what we would need to do to be able to get the life or the body or the health or whatever it is that's on the other side of that. And intellectually, we know it. But what's frustrating is we're not doing it. When it actually comes to waking up and working out, when it actually comes to having the dessert right in front of us and making a choice about it, when it actually comes to the snacks that you didn't know were going to be there at the party, your actual behavior will show you what result you're getting, right? We don't get the results of what we want in this world where we think we know what we should do. We get the results of what we are actually doing. And so it's very frustrating when our knowledge is so high and our alignment to that knowledge is so low. And we're super capable people who have been able to do this in so many different areas, right? We know what we need to do for our career and we did it. We knew what we need to do for our families and we did it. We knew what we needed to do to quit smoking and we did it. But then when it comes to food, it all seems different and it all seems so frustrating that why did I do that again, right? Why did I do the thing that I know I shouldn't be doing, that doesn't serve me? And so because we have really intense knowledge on something and we're not doing it, then we look for ways to fill in the gap, right? And that's usually where the accountability trap comes up. And we say, oh, well, I know what to do. I just need to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather people around me. Let's make a chat. Let's make a Facebook group. Let's, do a group text. Let's, get together every week. And let's hold each other accountable. Because all I need to do is to know that somebody's out there that's going to be like, oh, well, did you do the thing you said you were going to do? And that's going to make me do it, right? And we see this work in other areas of life. If you are meeting up with somebody else for a walk, you're probably going to show up. you're much more likely to show up than if it was just you driving your car to the park and going for a walk. If Sally's going to be there, then you're probably going to go and meet up with Sally because she's waiting for you. So we see this working in other areas of life, and we say, this is our answer. And then just check in. With food, has that ever worked? Has accountability ever worked long term when it comes to changing your behavior with food? And the answer is probably no. And so let's talk about that, because I know accountability is a really common place to go, but I don't want you guys to get off track of being able to get free because of this fantasy of, well, all I need is this missing piece is accountability. Again, just like with what you know, that doesn't give you impact. That doesn't change your life. It's what you're doing. And the idea of accountability doesn't get you any impact. It's, is it working? And it's only if it's working, then you know that it's something that is going to give you any sort of a different result. So let's dive into the 3 reasons why this accountability trap actually makes this problem worse and then what to do instead. So the first issue with accountability is that it creates a bigger wagon to fall off of. So let's break that down a little bit. So for those who are, hi, so fun to see you guys. Thank you. I love your comments and your hearts and hello. So fun to see you. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, because I know people all over the world watch this. We had a lovely woman from a European country who was like, what do you mean when you say you're falling off a wagon? I don't understand it. So let's make sure we're all on the same page. So falling off the wagon is this idea of, okay, you're there and you're on your plan and you're doing everything that you said you were going to do, and you're not having any sugar, and it's been 7 days, and oh my gosh, I can just keep on going without having sugar. And then you have like 1 cookie, and then all of a sudden the floodgates are open and you have another 6 more. And since you already had that, you might as well have the cake that you put in the freezer that you weren't going to have until you were having sugar again. And we really have to do everything perfectly tomorrow. And, we have to, get back on the wagon, right? And so falling off the wagon, just this idea of like, once you're off, right? You're not like stepping off the wagon. You're not slowing down the wagon. You're like on this wagon of like, this is what I'm going to do. And then you are off. And so falling off the wagon is a very common phenomenon. This is the thing that yo-yo dieting is, right? It's like you'll go for a certain amount of time, maybe with some accountability, and then something happens and you're just off and you're really off. And then it turns it back into a cycle, or it turns it into a cycle because you're getting back on and then you're back off. And then it literally creates a connection in your brain that's like, oh, this is what we do. We go off and on the wagon, right? So the first trap of accountability is that it creates a bigger wagon to fall off of. Instead of just telling yourself, you know what, I'm not going to eat sugar for a week. Now it's, I'm not going to eat sugar, and these 5 people know about it, and they're not going to eat sugar. And if I eat sugar, then I'm not only breaking my promises to myself, I am breaking my promises to everyone else. And all of a sudden, when we aren't doing the thing that we said we were going to do, when we go back to eating sugar, when we told ourselves and promised everybody that, things were going to, be different and we're not going to have sugar anymore, the wagon is so high, the promises are so big and strong that just like how it happens with yo-yoing up and down, the further you go up, the farther you fall down. And so instead of sort of this moderate of like, oh, I'm on the wagon, I'm off the wagon, it's like, this is really intense, we're making big commitments. And then when you're off, you're even more off. Look into your life and see exactly where this has happened. I want you guys to really recall specific examples because it's going to help you to see what's happening here. Think of the times where you have had bigger declarations, where you've promised more people, when you've told a group of people you're going to do something. When you weren't doing that anymore, was it mild or was it more intense? Notice how there's this relationship between what's happening. When we have accountability to a group, when things are bad, they're way, way worse, which actually makes the cycle even stronger. And that's where people go to a place where, they're, binging every once in a while. They're binging every single day because, man, like, things are so bad, we've got to fix them even faster and be even more intense. That's how an eating disorder starts. So literally, accountability can turn into this cycle of an eating disorder. So that's the first thing, is that it creates a bigger wagon to fall off of. The second part of the accountability trap is that it puts the pressure on what we're doing. So now it's not just us, right? Other people are watching. And what happens when the pressure is high and when the accountability is strong is when we fall off the wagon, when we mess up, because the pressure is so high and it's so shameful to come out to everyone and to say, hey, you know what? Like, I really messed up. You know that thing that I promised you that I wouldn't do? I did it. That's not an easy thing to do. In fact, we seek accountability because we think, oh, that's so awful. I certainly won't do it. But the thing is that we don't do it. What happens when the accountability is there and the pressure is high is that when we mess up, we go into hiding. How many times have you seen yourself just drop out of the accountability group, just ghost out of the group text, just not talk about that anymore? And either we ghost, right? Either we go into hiding because of the shame of doing what we promised everybody we wouldn't do. Or, as honest people as we are, and in every other part of our life we're honest, we lie about it. And we come in front of our accountability group and we say, you guys, you know what? Yep, I'm on track. Because in our minds we are, right? Like, oh yeah, we ate a bunch of sugar last night, but we're on track today. And so the really insidious thing that happens here is that you get a group of 10 people together that are all making these big accountability promises to each other. And people are falling off the wagon left and right, but because of the shame and because of the pressure, they're all showing up and they're saying, oh, yeah, I'm doing fine. And what happens is any person in that group can look around and say, oh my gosh, everyone is doing fine except me. I'm super broken. I'm the only one breaking my promises. Look, everyone else. And I'm saying that I'm not breaking my promises, but you look around and you see and you think that you're the only one. So I'll give you guys an example. We had an incredible woman come into our program who she had been binge eating for like 25 years. And she had gone to a group where they met every single week. And there was a lot of accountability and there was a lot of pressure and there was a lot of admitting that we're powerless and all of that. And she just said, you know what? I'm the only one who's messing up. This is working for everyone else except me. We get into this group and everyone is fine except me. And I asked her, well, do people think that you're fine? Oh, well, yeah, because I'm lying about it. This is so shameful what I'm doing. I'm not going to tell anyone about it. Okay, so you're in shame. You're not telling anyone. So don't they think that you're doing fine too? Oh, well, yeah, everyone thinks that I'm doing fine. Okay, well, then is it possible that the other people are not doing fine and they're doing the same thing that you are? And they're lying about how well they're doing when everyone is struggling, but everyone is creating this facade because of the accountability. And it was like, whoa, yes, absolutely. It's not that it's working for everyone else and it's not working for you. It's when you have a structure of pressure and accountability trying to fix your behavior with food, everyone is struggling because it literally sets you up to fail. And everyone thinks that everyone else is fine because everyone's either going into hiding or they're not being honest about it because of that shame. So that's the second thing that really makes accountability a trap and actually makes it worse. Now, the third thing is really important to understand as well, is that accountability also makes you dependent. If you need other people in a weekly group or a daily check-in, what happens when you don't have that? What happens when you don't have cell service and you can't check in with everybody? What happens when you don't have your group because you're traveling? You can see what happens, right? So let's play this out. You have your group and you're all gung-ho and your accountability, and we're going to meet together, every week, and we're going to text each other every day, and we're going to, keep going. And then something happens in your life. You have some circumstance where the people that you're becoming dependent on to try to make yourself do something, look at all of the things that go into this. Do you see how this isn't freedom, how this doesn't serve you? To be dependent on other people to make you do something, right? And then you go on a trip, something happens in life and you don't have those people. What happens? You binge, you feel all this shame, and then you send this message to yourself of, wow, I am super messed up. Wow, I can't do this. Wow, look at when I give myself just a little bit of freedom, when I'm not checking in with people, look how crazy I get. I guess I really, 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 really need these people now. In fact, we should check in twice a day. In fact, I probably shouldn't do anything until I call this, other person. So what happens is we start literally showing our brains that we're powerless, that we can't do this, that we need all of this other structure around us to be able to not do it. And then we start literally acting that way because we're giving ourselves that identity of like, wow, if I didn't have 12 things in place to control me, I would just go crazy. And then we do. And so that's never freedom because you're literally dependent on that group and you're going back and back. And so let's recap, you guys, with the 3 ways that accountability really creates this problem and makes it worse. 1, it creates a bigger wagon to fall off of. 2, it puts the pressure on. And 3, it actually makes you dependent on that accountability, which isn't freedom if you're dependent on other things and if you can't control your eating unless you have other people trying to control it with you, right? So let's talk about really what needs to happen instead. You must get free from an internal place where the things that you are doing come from a place where you would do it if you were by yourself or if you were with 100 other people, if you were with your closest friends, because it's coming from an internal place. And you guys already have things like this. You already have things that, you know what? You wouldn't just start like doing some crazy drug, or you wouldn't, start like throwing kittens against the wall just because nobody's looking. You just don't want to do that. That's just not who you are, right? So it's got to come from an internal place, and it has to be a place where there isn't the pressure of accountability. Because as soon as you have that pressure, then again, you have a bigger wagon to fall off of, and you're just going to go into hiding. So it's got to be a way where you don't have that pressure, where you're doing it because you want to do it. Hey guys, free. So if you have something that you are creating an outward circumstance, like, okay, well, these people are going to keep me accountable. Well, what happens if those people go away? Well, not having this food in the house is going to, keep me from doing it. Okay, well, what happens if that food is in the house, right? So it has to be something where it is a skill that you can practice and do and just have be part of you, that it doesn't matter if the brownie is in front of you or if the brownie is at this door. Like, you are fine either way. Because so this is exactly why we do it this way. When we coach our clients and show them how to, after 25 years of binge eating, be completely free in just a matter of weeks, it's because your brain is recreating itself every day. And when you literally recreate your brain to have just the connections of a normal eater where you don't have the desire to binge. Oh, you guys, thank you for letting me know. My mic is going in and out. Oh, I appreciate you. Hey, is this better? Give me a little thumbs up if you can hear me. Hopefully that fixed it. Thanks, guys. All right. So hopefully we didn't miss too much. So with this, you've got to change it really at a brain level. So let's recap that a little bit. Your brain is recreating itself every day, and you've got to teach your brain how to recreate itself in a way that has normal, thanks guys, great, I'm glad you can hear me, that has normal eating connections. So you don't have that problem anymore, but you've got to know how to do that. And when your brain has those new connections, then your desires change. So it's not something that you're trying to make yourself do something because you just don't want to do that thing anymore that doesn't serve you. And so that's exactly why we do it the way that we do, in a way that has no pressure, where you're literally learning a skill that changes your brain long term. And that's why we hear from our clients over and over, like, oh, wow, I can really see why this is not something that is just going to go away. Like, this is something that is going to last for the rest of my life. And we see that year after year with our grads of like, it just keeps getting better because they've changed it on a fundamental internal brain level. So let's make a little note here as well about why accountability doesn't work with food. Because I know that you guys have seen this work in other areas. Like I said, if you're going to meet Sally at the park at 10 a.m., you're much more likely to go if she's going to be there. Now, when it comes to going for a walk and you showing up, yeah, with that accountability, you're probably more likely to do it. But the thing about food is that the number one reason for disordered eating is restriction. And we are literally taught restriction in our society. So what happens, accountability is just another form of restriction. It's just another form of you can't. And you have so many biological and psychological systems within how you are created that hardcore fights against you trying not to eat, because that will kill you. Especially if you don't know where your next meal is coming from. If you're just skipping stuff and trying to eat less, it will kill you. Now, we live in a world where there's always an abundance of food. So what happens with a combination of that is there's abundance of food, and we put our own restraint on it, and then that creates a yo-yo cycle. So the reason that this accountability thing can work with other things and actually fights against you with food is because it is pushing all of the biological and psychological buttons to actually drive your cravings up, to make you eat way more where you don't even feel fullness. You guys have probably had this experience of like, I didn't even like it anymore and I just kept eating it. Man, I ate way past full. Wow, I couldn't even tell when I was full and I kept going. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I ate all of that. And it's because you've literally set up your world with your accountability and with your restriction to teach your body to crave food, especially calorie dense stuff, sugar, fats, to think about food all the time, to store fat because, oh my gosh, we don't know where the next meal is, coming, right? And so you've got to be able to remove those things. So I just wanted to say a little note of why accountability doesn't work with food. So this is the difference, right? This is what needs to happen. Besides it coming from an internal place, just like we teach our clients, has to come from an internal place where it's not, that pressure. This is the difference between accountability and then actually coaching, right? So with accountability, you're trying to make yourself do something. And what a coach does is that they teach you a skill. And if they're a good coach, we only have good coaches on our team, they're going to teach you how to be independent in it. And so it's sort of like riding a bike. Like, you may need some help to learn. With this skill, doing it on your own, you can try that for 50 years and it's probably going to keep getting worse because you don't have the expertise to know exactly what you need for you to make this brain change. But that's exactly why people come to us, is because we partner together and we show them exactly for them how to make this change in their brain. And we do it without pressure, and we do it without judgment, and we do it in a way that's internal and long-term, and we also do it in a way that shows them independence. So we are not looking, there are so many people to help, like billions of people to help. So many people struggle with food. We are not looking for people to come back and back and back. We can just help new people all the time and not even scratch the surface in the next 50 years. Like, this is a huge problem. And so what we're teaching you how to do is to get the skill, and then just live a life without that problem anymore. And so when people come to us, we're giving it all away, right? It's like, okay, here's what we're going to do to fix your problem. Here's what we're going to do so it never comes back. And here's what we're going to do so you know how to do this on your own. And you don't have to ever talk to us again if you don't want to. Now, we have really cool support for our grads. We've had best friends come out of this program. We've had people use these principles in other areas of life. We've seen people double their businesses with these principles. We've seen people totally transform their relationships. Like, it's really cool. It's really fun. So don't get me wrong. We have amazing support. But if we didn't, people would still be fine, because we're teaching them how to have that independent skill. And that's the difference between accountability and then having a coach who can show you exactly how to do this and be independent in it from an internal place. With what we do, we have no lifetime memberships, because no one has a lifetime membership for a problem that they don't expect to have forever. A lifetime membership of accountability means, I guess I'll just always have this problem. I guess this is just me for the rest of my life. And if that's what you want, there's no judgment. It's your life. But I know the people who come to us, they don't want to have this problem forever. This is about not having the problem anymore. And then it doesn't make sense to gather accountability around you, because that's not a thing that you struggle with. It's about fixing this all the way. So I'll give you guys an example. I have an amazing grad of our program. You can see her freedom story at lydiavideo.com. We have all sorts of freedom stories. That's just a fraction of our grads, but we're trying to, get to everybody who wants to do an interview and celebrate with them. But there's a bunch of stuff on there. But she's actually one of our freedom stories. And we did some really fun stuff in our grad community, and people were loving it. And so she sent me an email, and she just said, "Hey, Lydia, like, I think what you're doing with the grads is really cool. I think it's really serving people. And I went ahead and took myself out of the group. And I just want you to know why. Like, thank you. I will always be grateful for you that you showed me how to be done with my eating disorder." For her, I think it was about 25 years that she was a binge eater. And in her experience, she was just like, "I'm really grateful, but I'm done. Like, struggling with food just seems so far away. And I really just don't see the point in spending any more time in that community. Like, I've made incredible advances in my career. I'm getting certified, in this other thing, that I am super excited about. I just have so much going on in life. So I thank you so much, but I just wanted you to know why you didn't see me in the group anymore." Awesome. High five. It's exactly what we do. Like, you can be there and you can hang out if you want, or you can just be like, "You know what? I don't have a problem anymore. And so I'll go do other things." That's what freedom is. Freedom is not putting all the walls and restraints around you to try to make yourself do something for the rest of your life. That is exhausting, and it just makes things worse. So the next time that you guys go to this place of like, "Oh, all I need is accountability," remember this. Remember how it just makes it worse. And you can try it if you want and see if it makes it better or makes it worse, and look at the long term, right? How long does accountability last? It's an exhaustible thing. Even if it forces you to do something for a minute, it's not something that is a long-term change, because it doesn't come from that fundamental internal place. So I'm Lydia, the lifestyle coach. If you guys want some help with this, if you really want to make this internal change and be able to change this long term, you can actually have a free session with our team. You just go to lifewithlydia.com/apply. Again, that's lifewithlydia, LYDIA.com/apply. And you can book a free session with our team where we're going to help you with the fundamental step, the foundation of really being able to make this a lifelong change and a long-term change, and really let you know what pieces have been missing for you to get to the place where you're free and done and this isn't a problem for you anymore. So if you find a spot there, snag it quickly. I know they go really quickly. If you go there and there aren't any spots, check back, like set a little alarm in the next couple of days on your phone to check back and see if there are any openings. I know there's a huge demand, but we'd love to help you, and, be persistent, and, show up, and, be there, and, if you're able to book a session, because I know this will be one of the best, times that you've ever spent on really fixing this problem once and for all. So again, this is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, signing off. Mwah. Bye, guys.